Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is June 3rd, 2023, and we're getting into the volume 107 of me answering your immigration related questions. As you can see, I have all your comments pulled up in front of me. As always, before beginning this video, I'm going to mention, as I mentioned in every video on this channel, I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information provided in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and of course the Department of State with their visa bulletin. So let's start with the very first comment from Fahri Silik or Chilik. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Hi, I got my documentarily qualified notice 3 weeks ago for my wife from NBC. So I am from Turkey. How long I'm going to wait for the interview date, you think? Please answer. Fahri, thank you very much for your question. It's a great question. Congratulations on becoming documentarily qualified. That's a huge milestone. That's the stuff that takes the longest and the most amount of effort. The only thing that's left is once the interview is scheduled to go for the medical examination and then go for the interview, same documents that you provided to the NVC, and get the immigrant visa. Now, how long it's going to take is really hard to answer because it really depends on where the U.S. Embassy is. So, for example, in Turkey, I would think that there are multiple U.S. embassies, but let's take a look. U.S. Embassy. I'm going to pull up the U.S. embassies in Turkey, and you can find the list of all the embassies if you're looking for it at usembassy.gov. We're going to scroll down to T. Let's see. Turkey. They put Turkey here instead of just Turkey. Let's go and see. Okay, so the embassy's in Ankara. I wonder if there's another embassy somewhere else in Turkey, because sometimes, yep, there is also a consulate in Istanbul, and there's a consulate in Adana. So you might have the interview in the actual embassy. You might potentially have the interview in one of the consulates. It's possible. What you can do, if you want to find out, you can actually reach out. You can start with the embassy in Ankara, give them a call, and say that, hey, I've been documentarily qualified. I'm waiting for an interview. When approximately do you think the interview is going to be scheduled? Now, most of the times they don't give out this information. They just say, I'm sorry, we can't give you that information. But sometimes I've seen cases where people get some nice people on the phone and it's not hard for them to look into the schedule and approximately let you know when it's going to be scheduled. Personally, I've seen cases take as little as 3 months to get the interview notice because the embassy was not busy. I have seen as long as 9 months where people were waiting for 9 months after becoming documentarily qualified with the immigrant visa already available. And I'm assuming in your case you didn't specify if you yourself is a U.S. citizen, then it's immediate relative category. Then you're not going to be dealing with the backlog. The immigrant visa is already available, so it's just a matter of U.S. Embassy having the open slot for an interview. But if you are if you're a permanent resident petitioning for a spouse, then you're going to be in F2A category, and in that case you are dealing with the backlog, and then we're going to be looking at the visa bulletin F2A. Right now there's September 2020, which means that people, as of right now, they're waiting roughly for 3 years for the availability of the immigrant visa. So you might have some more time to wait, depending on if you are a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. But if you are a U.S. citizen, it's an immediate relative category, so the immigrant visa is already available. I would recommend calling U.S. Embassy in Turkey and just seeing if they give you that information. You still probably have some time to wait. I would say a few months if you're in immediate relative category. But again, give it a shot. You just might get some more information from them, and it would be great. Alrighty, let's move on to the next one from Nahin Musa. In part 6, they said, fill it if you filing a late initial application. What this mean? Oh, okay, so that was an I-821 application for temporary protected status. So the way the temporary protected status works is you have to have the eligibility based on the country that you're national of. And a lot of times they have the deadlines where you can file that initial application, right? Also, a lot of times, well, not a lot of time, most of the times you have the deadline because the program they open up, let's say there is some kind of situation, like for example, recently they have extended the program, the existing program that was for Somalia. So if you have missed that deadline, right? If you haven't been able to file that application for temporary protected status on time, and there is an extension to this program, like for example, there is an extension right now for Somalia. In that case, you are filling out that basically late initial application, meaning that the original deadline already passed, but you are filing based on that extension. In that case, you are filling it out. But if it's not applicable, if you're doing the paper application, just make sure to put not applicable, and then you can skip that whole section. Alrighty, let me put the answer here. I'm going to move on to the next one from Shinuda Bekit. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, and thank you very much, Shinuda, for being publicly subscribed. This is what this icon means right here. Appreciate it. So Shinuda is asking, can a refugee travel to his home country after getting the green card? Will that be a problem when he applies for citizenship? Thank you. Shinuda, thank you very much. That's a great question. Yes, absolutely. You definitely don't want to do that. Not as a refugee, not as an asylee. That is a big, big no-no. Even after getting the citizenship, it is still a little bit questionable. I wouldn't recommend doing that just to be on the safe side. First of all, you are risking, your own safety. In some situations, of course, if it's more of a personal matter and there is some specific people that are involved that are persecuting you, and they, for example, there is no threat. There are situations like that. In that case, yes, then you might be able to explain that, I did go back, and I went back because there is no longer a threat. Maybe that person no longer lives in that country. Maybe that something else happened, and they are no longer a threat to you. So they're no longer persecuting you. But in most of the situation, if you want to be on the safer side, if you don't want to take the unnecessary risk, and I would personally recommend that because, you have been subscribed to this channel for a while, you know that I always recommend the least risky path, all right? Because you definitely don't want to create a situation for yourself, and you most likely will. I am 99% positive that if a refugee travels on the refugee status, they probably not going to get a green card. But even with the green card, if they travel back to the country during the naturalization interview, I wouldn't even say 99. I would say 99.9%. There will be a question. Why did you go back to the country that you ran away from, where you have been persecuted? And unless you have a really, really good explanation that shows that threat is no longer present, that's why you felt safe to go back, there was some kind of emergency, you absolutely had to go back, maybe your family member, maybe something, a good explanation with some supporting evidence, I would not risk it. It's definitely very, very risky because it might create problems. It will most likely create problems. Alrighty, let me put this and we're going to move on to the next question from Pon the Corner. On this form I-130 beneficiary family, is it necessary to add all spouse children from a prior relationship, not marriage? Okay, so yes, because it's not marriage, then you don't have to obviously put the spouse information because it wasn't a spouse. Well, judging from the perspective of the society, whatever, we're not going to get into that. But if you want to have your children, because it's by your biological children, or if they were adopted, if they weren't your biological children, if you want them to be to go as derivative beneficiaries, if they're under 21 and you want them to come with you, then yes, you would have to put them on the form. If not, then of course not really. But yeah, I would definitely recommend putting on the form children, just in case if they were ever want to come here to the United States as a derivative beneficiary, you definitely want them to have on the form. Alrighty, moving further to Had Bahwa or Bajwa. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, I probably am. Question: if you are outside US, can you pay the fee to local US embassy or consulate? Because it's not possible for you to write a check from US bank. Great video, really helps. Had, thank you very much for the question. It's a great question. Haven't had a question like that before. Yes, absolutely. There are a lot of forms. And I'm pretty sure specifically the form I-131 application for travel document, because of the nature of the application form that allows you to apply for the refugee well, not necessarily refugee travel document, this travel document application is for refugee travel document, for refugees, asylees, for advanced parole, for green card holders. So there's multiple things involved in there. But the nature of this application, it allows you in some situations to apply outside of the United States. And for applications like this, yes, a lot of U.S. embassies around the world, they have the practice where they accept the payment. And I'll actually find you the page. There's a separate page which I'm gonna put as a reference for you so you can check it out. Let's see, filing fees. There we go. That's it. I think this is the very first. Okay, there we go. How to pay USCIS filing fees. There we go. The very first one. If you live outside the United States, or its territories and you want to file your application or petition where you live, go to the form section of our website to determine if you can file your form at an international office. We do not accept all form payments abroad. Check the appropriate international immigration offices webpage or contact the U.S. Embassy or Consulate for information on how to pay USCIS fees. So you know where to find all the U.S. embassies around the world. That's on this website right here, usembassy.gov. So find the right U.S. embassy, give them a call, say, hey, I'm filing this application form, I need to pay the fee, and they should be able to explain all the details. So let me post this response, and I'll also post this link so you can check it out yourself for reference. And let me copy this back. Boom. Alrighty, let's move on to the next question from Denise24. Denise, thank you for another question. I appreciate it. This icon right here means Denise is one of the top commenters on this channel. I appreciate you, Denise. Hi, sir. When is the next visa bulletin coming up? We already in the new months and the fiscal year. How many visas are released to the F1 visa class category? Denise, great question. So, well, we are June 3rd. I'm thinking by the middle of June, we're going to have July visa bulletin. So the latest, I would say like June 15th, we're going to have the July 2023 visa bulletin. As for your question, how many F1 visas issued, you can actually find it on the visa bulletin page at the category F1, and you will see on married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens, and you will see 23,400 annual visas that are allowed, the cap, that's the cap, 23,400, plus any number not required for forced preference, which is the brothers and sisters, but there's rarely anything that is not required for brothers and sisters because there's plenty of applications, plenty of backlog in that category as well. So the number that you're looking for is 23,400. And if you want to dig in even deeper and see exactly how many visas are given per certain country per year, you can actually find it in the visa statistics, same on this page in this link right here at on the left side. Alrighty, let's move on to the next question from Diana SO. Waiting for my F1 priority February 12, 2016. Why it's so slow? Diana, so unfortunately, the reason why it is so slow is because there is a cap on the amount of visas that are issued each year. That's why we do have the backlog, because we have each year we have more applications than there are available visas. So 23,400 available visas, and we get 30,000 applications per year in F1 category. That means that there is roughly 6,400, my math is horrible, 6,500, whatever, 7,000 roughly, let's do it, 7,000 over what there is. So that 7,000, it transfers to the next year. And if it's the same next year, which is going to be the same next year because there's still limited number of visas next year, and there's still more applications coming in each category. So the backlog, it keeps growing and growing and growing, and the wait times are become longer and longer and longer, unfortunately. So I'm going to take a look at the visa bulletin. You're in F1, and we will try to estimate. I'm going to count it as all chargeability. So if you're in any of the countries except China, India, Mexico, Philippines. If you're in one of these, obviously you will be looking at these columns right here. But for the purpose of this answer, I'm going to look at all chargeability F1. Right now it is showing December 2014. So December 2014 and you're February 2016. So you're roughly 1 year and like 1 month, 1 year and 2 months roughly away from the availability of your immigrant visa. But again, keep in mind that the backlog keeps on growing. So unless Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, they come up with some kind of solution to maybe raise the cap and provide more immigrant visas, or find some kind of streamlined solution in order to speed up this, to clear out the backlog, it will be growing, and it might be a little bit longer than that. That's why I say every time when I give these estimates, they are very rough estimates. Keep that in mind. But it's still better than wondering what's going on. So make sure you stay on top of the visa bulletin. Check the new visa bulletin every month. Right now we are on June 2023 visa bulletin, and I do have the video specifically for it. Once July comes out, I will make a video specifically on July visa bulletin, where we will compare the movement from May, June to July to see what changed. Was there a positive movement or not so positive? Like, for example, from May to June, it wasn't positive at all, unfortunately. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Janat. Janat says, how long does it take for a petition for a US citizen alien relative to be approved? Okay, Janat, so it really depends on which category we're talking about, depending on who the US citizen is petitioning for. If the US citizen is petitioning for a spouse, that's an immediate relative category. It means once USCIS approves the case, the immigrant visa is already available. So it's just the administrative processing that you're waiting for with USCIS, with the NDC, with the US Embassy, and that's really it. No waiting for the backlog, all right? Same thing for the kids under 21, same thing for the parents. These are immediate relative categories. However, if the US citizen is petitioning for a child over 21, or if the child over 21 is married, or if the US citizen is petitioning for brother or sister, then we are going to the categories, the family sponsored preference categories that unfortunately are dealing with a backlog. And some of these, like first, F1, that's of US citizen, unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens, over 21. So, but they are waiting, and they're waiting for a very long time. See, right now, as of right now, the backlog is, 6 years plus 3 years, 9 years. 9 years. So it really depends on. So if you let me know, if you want to get a little bit better estimates, let me know the category, who the US citizen is petitioning for, and the priority date when the petition was submitted. And I might be able to give you a little bit more information with a little bit more details. Alrighty, let's move on. Oh, by the way, Jana, please, if you're posting your response, and that goes for everyone too, please don't respond to my comment within your comment, because YouTube does not send me notifications for those. Please submit it as a separate comment, and I will be able to see it on this wall. Alrighty, let's move on to the next one from Clinton Byfield. I used to every 60 days get email from NVC waiting for an interview, but now I get it. I guess not get it anymore. Clinton, please clarify your comment. It's very unclear. I'm not sure what kind of email you were getting from NVC. Every 60 days. It's a little strange. Maybe they were scheduling or rescheduling the interview, or maybe they were telling you that your interview is going to be scheduled soon. But if that's the case, my recommendation I would give you is, if you know that your immigrant visa is already available, maybe you're in the immediate relative category, or maybe you check the visa bulletin and you know that the immigrant visa should definitely already be available, and you're already obviously documentarily qualified, so the only thing is left is the interview. Reach out to the US Embassy where the beneficiary is and ask them if they can give you any approximate, wait times, how long you have to wait for an interview. Again, don't be surprised if they don't give you any information. A lot of times they don't, but they might just answer and say, hey, we have about 3-4 more months of busy schedule, and then we have some availability, so you're probably going to be scheduled in like next 3-4 months. That's maybe if they are courteous enough to compassionate enough to give you that information. Alrighty, let's move on to the next question from Ikai TV. Any news about F2A? So whenever it comes to F2A, the only thing that we can do is really just take a look at the visa bulletin. And as of right now, F2A is showing September 2020, which means that roughly F2A cases, that's spouses and children under 21 of permanent residents, they roughly take about 3 years, because right now we are in June 2023, and as of June 2023, right now the people are getting their immigrant visas that have the priority dates back in September 2020, which is roughly about 3 years delay backlog that you are dealing with. Unfortunately, it didn't really move from May to June. In May, it was the same date. So the backlog is growing, but we will see July, August, we will see what our updates are. If you're not subscribed to this channel yet, make sure you subscribe, because you're commenting on the June 2023 immigration news update. Once the July visa bulletin comes out, I will make a separate video on that, and we will compare all the previous, and we will see if there is any movement. Hopefully there is. Alrighty, moving further to Bhagwati Sahadeo. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. So Bhagwati says, "Hi sir, good night. My priority date is 15 November 2015 and waiting for interview." Great, so you're already documentarily qualified. Bhagwati, if you want me to do some rough estimates, to give you some rough estimates on approximately how long until, if you're even dealing with a visa backlog at all or not, let me know your category. Because, again, you might be in immediate relative category, or you might be in one of the categories that is still dealing with the visa backlog. Without it, I won't be able to do much estimate. So if you can, please submit a separate comment. Don't respond to my comment within your comment, because YouTube don't send me the notifications for those. Alrighty, moving further to Ruben Lewis. My friend's sister filed for her 2007. How much more waiting time? Thank you. Okay, Ruben, thank you for your question. So if you're filing for sister, you have to be US citizen. US citizen filing for sibling, sister, brother is F4, force preference category. So we're going to take a look at the visa bulletin. I don't know the chargeability area, but like I said, if the beneficiary is in China, India, Mexico, or Philippines, then you're looking whether China column, India, Mexico, Philippines. Everybody else, all the other countries around the world are in all chargeability areas. So that's where I'm going to look at. Obviously, if that's not the case, then you look at the right one. But for all the other countries, right now it is showing for the F4, force preference category, April 2007. So people, US citizens who have petitioned for their brothers and sisters back in April 2007, as of right now, June 2023, are finally getting their immigrant visas. The immigrant visas are becoming available for their beneficiaries. So that means there is a total of about 16 years of the backlog that you need to wait for the availability of the immigrant visas. Now, your friend's sister filed for her in 2007. So that means if the beneficiary is in all chargeability area, you are literally, your friend's sister, whoever, is literally anywhere around the corner. The availability of the immigrant, I would say they should be already documentarily qualified by now, and they're just waiting for the interview to be scheduled. It should be really around the corner, because the immigrant visa, I don't know, you didn't say exactly which month in 2007, but right now, as of June 2023, we are on April. So hopefully in July, we're going to be on May. In August, we're going to be in June. But it's not always the case, because there is a backlog that is growing, unfortunately. So a lot of times we move to the next month's visa bulletin and there is no movement in the priority dates. That's because the backlog keeps on growing. But regardless, it should be, whether it takes a little longer or a little less, I would say by the end of 2023, it should be finally happening. Almost there. Wow. I can personally relate, because I myself have a petition in F4 category, and I still have another 13 years to wait before my brother can come and visit me here. It's ridiculous, but that's how the system is set up, unfortunately. Alrighty, moving further to Vaidish Samaria. Is there a deadline to submit the application? I have been reading June 30, but can't find it on the USCIS website. So the question was posted on I-129 petition for non-immigrant worker. Vaidish, I have no idea about any deadlines whenever it comes to filing the I-129. Let's check. I am thinking there isn't any because it would be a little bit weird if there was a specific deadline, specific date for filing I-129. But the best place to answer it will be on the actual page. We're going to go there and we're going to go to the instructions for Form I-129. And let's see if we can find the word deadline. Nope. There is no matches in the instruction either. Nope. There isn't even the word did. Or let's try to June. Nope. Nope. The instructions don't say nothing. I don't think you will find it on this page. I don't think there is any deadline. So whatever information you found somewhere else, it might be for somebody specific, but for general, there is no USCIS deadline. I'm going to post the link here so you can do your own research, but it doesn't look like there is any deadline whatsoever. Alrighty, let me post this and we're going to move on to the next question from Adijuma Harijat. Adijuma, thank you very much for another question. Hello, thank you for your help and time in answering all questions. This gives me hope. Still waiting for my approval. Hopefully it will come soon. My brother filed for me on September 22, 2011. Adijuma, thank you very much. I'm glad my answer was helpful, and I really do hope too that there is some kind of movement. There is some kind of update, because the systems right now, the way it is set up, is not very good. Okay, moving further to Jamila Altaf. Jamila says, how about parents? So that was posted on how long will my I-130 petition take. So Jamila, good news about the parent. The only one who can petition for a parent is a U.S. citizen. And when U.S. citizen petitions for a parent, that is immediate relative category. So you are not dealing with a visa bulletin at all. There is no backlog that you are dealing with, which means that once USCIS approves the petition, the I-130 petition, the immigrant visa is already available. The only things that are left is to just the administrative processing, becoming documentarily qualified with NVC, scheduling the interview, going for the medical exam, and then going for the interview and actually getting that immigrant visa. Now, of course, with all of that being said, it will still take time, and you can check on USCIS website. I've showed in that video how to check the approximately how long the case is going to take with USCIS, and there is roughly about a year. And let's actually take a look for parents. USCIS processing times. Let's take a look. The I-130 for a U.S. citizen filing for, there we go, spouse, parent, or child under 21. And let's check, for example, California center. Obviously will depend on which service center it is. So 14 and a half months. Let's do Texas. 13 months. Nebraska. Let's do all field offices roughly and see what they're gonna give us. That's the average. Oh, so there is an office that takes forever. Vermont maybe? Let's see. There's gotta be somebody who takes forever. Texas, we already checked. Potomac. 16 months. So Potomac is so far the longest, and Nebraska is 14 and a half months. So roughly, as you can see, it takes about just over a year. So of course, you will be waiting for, roughly a whole year. And then once USCIS approves a petition, then you're dealing with the NVC, becoming documentarily qualified. That can take up to 6 months if there is any back and forth. It can be as quick as 3 months, but it can take up to 6 months. I recommend everyone, if you haven't seen the video that I've posted on this channel called Documentarily Qualified, what does it mean? And if you are not documentarily qualified yet, I highly recommend checking out that video, because in that video I show an actual NVC portal that was already documentarily qualified. You can see what you will be submitting, the visa application DS-260, the affidavit of support, how much they cost, how much you will have to pay, which documents you will be submitting, just everything that is involved in becoming documentarily qualified. So if you are prepared for that, once your NVC portal is, you get the access to the NVC portal, you can have everything prepared, submit it all. I really wish I knew it all before I was dealing with it myself. For my parents, I didn't. It was new to me. For my brother, when I'll be dealing with it, I will know all of this, so it will be much faster, much easier. But you can get yourself documentarily qualified within like 3-4 months roughly if you have everything prepared. And then once the interview is scheduled, you do the medical examination within the 30 days as soon as possible, and then the actual interview. So the whole length of the process, even in immediate relative category, Jamila, you're still looking at about 2 years, all right, for administrative stuff. But on the plus side, you're not dealing with the immigrant visa backlog that a lot of other categories are dealing with, where you are literally just sitting and waiting for your priority date to become current. So on this one, we're going to end this video. Thank you everyone for asking your questions. If you have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. Like I said, just don't respond to my comment within your comment. Submit it as a separate comment. As many questions as you have, you're always welcome to ask them. I will never say, oh, this person asks too many questions. I'll never do that. I'm grateful for your questions. It means that my answers are helpful, and that's a blessing for me. I really appreciate it. So thank you very much for your time. Appreciate that. God bless, and I'll see you all in the next video.